When you think of Dominicans, what do you think of?
I think of the best people in the world. I'm just kidding. Okay, I think of people who are very proud of their culture, where they come from, of who they are as like humans, and just like their history. I also think of people who are super involved with their families and who are passionate about just like their own culture, and like they love food and they love being loud.
What do you love about being Dominican?
I love how we're so tied to our roots. I mean, not our African roots, I want to say, but we're definitely tied to who we are, and we always go back to like where we come from, and we love like just spreading love, and our music is popping.
What do you hate about being Dominican?
I guess to touch on what I said before, I hate that we don't acknowledge like the oppression that's in our past, and we don't acknowledge like the hate that still is like fueled in our like society, or in the society in the Dominican Republic. I think that that's very necessary to address.
Do you consider yourself a true Dominican?
No, probably not. Just because true Dominicans, in my family's terms, are more drawn to like the Dominican like culture, like music, and they love to speak Spanish all the time, and they don't like to be. Uh, they don't. They're very loud and dominant and stuff, and I'm not.
So, with that being said, what do you think is the typical Dominican or the Dominican stereotype?
I'd say like being very loud and just like commanding attention, but also in a way that makes people know that you're Dominican. It's like all about like representing that culture. It's not just being loud just for loud's sake. It's like I'm loud because I have a lot to say because I'm Dominican, and also just like not valuing as a woman or as a female in the Dominican culture, it's more acceptable for you not to be educated, or not so much educated, but it's more acceptable for you to just focus on how you look and not so much on how you think. And so I'm not that.
How do you think other people view you?
Um, Other people probably would view me as like whitewashed sometimes, just because I don't know. My cousins used to say like, "Oh, you don't listen to like reggaeton, you don't listen to dembo all the time. You're not listening to like the music that we listen to because we're true Dominicans. Therefore, you're not really Dominican."
How big of a role does being Dominican play in your identity?
Actually, it plays a huge role. I'm always referring back to like how my mom has raised me and how it shapes who I am, like how I think, and like who I want to be in the future. And it's all because of the Dominican culture that raised her. And so I think that it plays a huge role, not so much like in me like waving a Dominican flag everywhere wherever I go, but like just having that as a part of my identity like helps me keep going, because Dominican people are very persistent and we work hard. As a stereotype, but we work hard, so yeah.
Based on, you said you came to Lynn, Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm.
Based on how that community is set up, how do you think that played a role in how you view your Dominican identity?
It honestly made me proud because we were like the dominant population in school, at least, and in my neighborhood we were the majority, and so every time we would like go out, it would be like hola primo, like stuff like that, because we knew everybody and everybody knew us. And so like being Dominican was like the best because like you knew everybody and everybody knew you.
So to switch gears a little bit, do you consider yourself black?
um See, that's a good question, because I didn't consider myself black until I came to Denison and realized that my ancestors were slaves from Africa, therefore I am black.
How do you define black?
I define it as like having descendants from, well, I guess African American and black are interchangeable, so for some people, but for me the term black in general is just having descendants from Africa, and if that's how I define it, then I would consider myself black.
Do you think Dominicans acknowledge that they are black?
No, they don't. I think that the self-hate that was imposed on them when like the Spanish colonized the Dominican Republic has made them not want to be black. I think that like I've run into that a lot just by talking to my parents, how they don't want me to have natural hair because they think that it's associated with being like black, and they are like more prone to be prejudiced against darker skinned people. But it's ironic because my family is composed of mostly dark skinned people or darker skinned people because Dominicans come in all shades, but yeah, my family is mostly darker skinned people, and we have like, my other family members have this like great like disdain or like not hate, but like they just don't embrace that they are black. They just stray away from it as much as they can.
Describe Dominican beauty norms for women.
For women, I'd say it has to be, you have to have straight black hair. You can have blonde hair, but that's like really rare. So I guess straight black or brown hair. You have to have wide hips, thick thighs, a small waist, decent sized like breasts, and then you have to like have really nice nails. To have your nails done. You have to just exude beauty in everything you do. This has to be like your first priority.
Who taught you these beauty norms?
I used to watch a lot of Dominican television, and all the girls on the TV shows look like that, so I just assumed that that's what you should look like.
How do you think being a woman and being Dominican either conflict or don't conflict with your identity?
Can you repeat the questions?
So like, how do you think being a woman affects your Dominican experience?
Oh, it affects me so much because I always get like so offended when my parents are like, "Oh, pick up your brother's plate," when I have to go to the kitchen or something. And I'm like, why do I have to do that? He has feet and he has hands. He's perfectly capable of doing it. But it's like the level of misogyny that's in the culture is like very, very severe. They don't believe that women are able to do as much as men, which is like a common stereotype in all society, but more prevalent in like Latin American and like Caribbean cultures because they're still stuck in like 1932 basically, if you want to put it that way. Yeah, it's terrible.
How do you feel at Denison?
As a Dominican or just as a person?
Just how do you feel at Denison as a person?
Right now I feel pretty much set. I feel good. I feel like I know who I am. I don't have to compromise who I am anymore. Before, when I got here, I felt like I had to change who I was in order to fit in somewhere. But then I realized that in doing that, I was not being true to myself. And so as soon as I stopped doing that, I was like, I found my friends. I found where I needed to be. So I feel good.
Do you feel out of place?
Sometimes. Definitely when I'm talking about like race issues with people. You know, you can't really talk to people about race when they don't really want to talk about race. And so I'm always very passionate to try to get people in that conversation, but people are not that receptive sometimes.
Do you feel accepted by a certain, like, I guess, ethnic or racial group on campus?
Yeah, sometimes. I'd say for the most part, I'm mostly friends with other Dominican people, other Hispanic people, other black people, other Asian people. I have some white friends, but very, very rare. And that's just because of like the circles that we run in. I don't know, we just don't, like, I don't run into that many white people because they're not in my circle that much.
Do you feel conflicted in, like, I guess, choosing a side on campus? Whether you're more Hispanic or more black, do you feel like a sort of social pressure?
Sometimes, yeah. Like, sometimes I feel like I'm not as Hispanic as I should be. Like, I don't go to La Fuerza Latina, but I also don't go to the BSU. So I just kind of like feel like I don't really have a place where I feel like my true self. Because to be fair, I'm not the most Hispanic person. I don't go around like parading my Hispanic side. And I also don't go around saying like I'm black and accept me as a black like woman, because some people might not consider me a black woman. Like some people just consider me as Hispanic or Dominican or something. So it's just like hard for me to find where I like fit in ethnically.
What would it take for Denison to be 100% become your home?
I think it would take like more people accepting multiplicity in somebody's identity. Like if everybody could just understand that we are who we are and we're just like attributing our own importance to different things, then maybe I would be able to go to different groups and like talk to different people without feeling judged. But people are going to be set in their ways just because that's just all they know, and